States. And Gary, when we talk about the visitors, they are a very tough side indeed.
They're extremely strong physically. They're known for their big hits, and the good leadership of their captain is missing today. So Hodges will have to take over the leadership and lead them to victory.
Yes, Dan Lyle is not in the lineup. Anyone else we should take a look for?
Well, I think you better check and see how the front row matches up against the Canada front row. This is relatively inexperienced, and that'll be a battle up front to watch.
Now, obviously, Canada wants a big game from big men like Al Chiron.
Well, Al Chiron is the emotional leader of Canada. He's winning his 67th cap today, and Rod Snow as well in the front row. There should be some action from those two.
No real big changes from that last game against Scotland, except for one.
Well, John Tate is the Cardiff Player of the Year. He was simply unavailable for the Scotland match. He holds his spot as a lineout specialist.
Look for the lineouts to play an important role for Canada and David Clark as they take to the field against the United States here, just north of Toronto. Lots more rugby action to come from Fletcher's Fields. Rogers Sportsnet, your home of rugby. The opening kickoffs coming up next. Welcome back to Markham, Ontario. Canada taking on the United States. What a great way to spend this Canada Day long weekend. A little rugby watching the teams run out on the field here in a second, Gary. For Canada, they want to build on this Scottish victory. For the United States, they want to try and put their tough defeat to Scotland behind them.
Well, we see the Americans coming in, led by their new captain, Dave Hodges, and exactly right, Craig. They can't think about what happened in San Francisco a week ago. They've got to look to the future, as we did when we took Scotland. Canada beat Scotland in Vancouver.
Now, for Canada to be successful, we talked a bit about the keys before, but obviously Canada would need this victory here against the United States to set them off so well for that qualifying of the World Cup.
As we see Al Chiron lead his team on the field, yes, this is a bigger game than the game against Scotland. This is the home field advantage that Canada needs if they're going to qualify first in the Americas, which is absolutely crucial for the World Cup. The qualifying first gives Canada a much easier draw than qualifying second.
If they do qualify first, they go into a group with New Zealand and Wales as opposed to setting up with a tough group, but let's pick your poison really, England and South Africa. We're now lining up for the national anthems from both countries.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthems. First, the national anthem of the United States of America. And now, ladies and gentlemen, on this 2 days before Canada Day, ladies and gentlemen, O Canada. Today's match is being broadcast on Sportsnet. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen, for this match between friends and favorite foes, the United States and Canada. Get ready, get set, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get ready to rugby! If you like those mini rugby balls, you can pick them up. And you didn't catch one, you can pick one up at International Athletic, Canada's official merchandiser.
The stage has been set here at Markham's Fletcher's Fields. Canada throwing a few balls into the stands, Gary, to kick things off. It's a very nice day here in Toronto, kind of balmy, as you say. 28 degrees, mainly sunny, a little bit of a wind, but not much that should be a factor. Your humidex, 32 degrees, but Gary, this Canadian side has been practicing in this type of temperature all week.
Right, the team has been to places like Samoa where it's about 10 times more humid and 2 times hotter. So I don't believe this conditions will affect the Canadian team at all. And it's something they'll have to get used to if they're going to play the Americans in Chicago, because in July it's going to be hot in Chicago. The throwing of the balls into the stands, that was an idea of the players. Al Sharon, the captain, wants to give something back to the fans. And we want to bring Canada wants to bring the fans into the game early, so free balls for everyone.
Your referee is Alan Lewis from Ireland. Your touch judges, Nigel Whitehouse from Wales and Donald Courtney, another Irishman. Your fourth official from Canada is Dan Barry. We are just about set to get underway. International Rugby on Sportsnet. Jared Barker to start things off for Canada. The first of a long road of games for Canada to the World Cup down under, trying to qualify. This international test is underway.
And roll away. That's good. Stay on.
United States want a secure ball here to start. And that's kicked to touch by Herkus.
That's a good start for Canada. They now have possession of a line-out inside the America zone. Herkus is a key player for the United States because he's in a key position. This is his second cap today, so I expect Canada will target him.
Interesting in the line-out for this one. 2 really huge men.
There's an interference call against the Americans at a jumping line-out, so this will be Jared Barker's first chance. His choice is to go for goal or go to touch. He feels that he can't make 8 out of 10 here, so he's going to bang the ball inside the 22 of the USA.
Barker, a very solid game against Scotland. 16 points for him. A huge coming out party, so to speak. He had played a bit for Canada before, but that was such a key game for the young Jared Barker.
Right, that was his 4th cap, and so he's an experienced player as well. And he started out with kicking a 50-meter penalty kick. This time he chose not to go for that and to go to the line-out on the 22.
As we said, interesting, in the line-out you have 2 really tall men. Gross for the United States and Tate for Canada, who's been inserted.
There it is. Hands away, stay up.
Williams, Barker. As
There it is.
Witkowski came in nicely. There's Al Sharon, his first big touch, pushing forward. Canada with the ball nicely. Barker with men out wide. Winston Stanley with the touch pass just behind his back.
Okay.
This is the idea of Canada holding onto the ball for long periods of time. There's no kick. Winston tried a quick flick to Freddie Aslan, and it was just a little bit in behind him. So now the Canadian team will pressure the USA lineouts. We're looking at Dan Dorsey, the tight end. He's having a big day today against Rod Snow. Dorsey has 2 caps for the United States. He's an inexperienced tight head player.
Okay.
Taken there nicely by the United States.
Roll
Rod
away, roll
Snow
away,
brings
Canada, that's fine, don't go
Kasijian
inside.
down.
Fine.
The ball is out. And Herkus finds touch. Gary, Canada 22-8-1 all-time against the United States, but the gap is getting closer, isn't it, for David Clark's side? They always have a tough game against the United States.
Well, exactly right. You don't worry about what happened 10 years ago, because those players aren't playing today. It's what happened the last couple of years, and the United States has been very competitive over the last couple of years. Expect this to be a battle today.
Dunkley looking the back of the lineup for James. Nicely taken. Williams, Barker. In the line is Ryan Banks, the former SFU football player. Bowls ahead. There's John Cannon. Nice chip kick. Gets it by Timoteo. Timoteo picked up nicely for the United States.
Canada.
And that ball is cleared
That's a USA
by Cater.
ball, Donald.
So the ball's touched by Canada.
USA ball.
So the Rod Snow is being attended to here. Hopefully he'll be okay. He's a key player in the Canadian team.
Just out of the space, boys, please. Play on, play on.
Alan Lewis has decided that he's not going to stop for every single injury. He'll have to stop for a scrummage,
Hang on, let's
but
play
not
on.
for a line-out. He wants the game to
Don't come out of the
continue.
line-out, stay in the
You see
line-out.
Dan Hodges down tying his boot up. And Rod Snow coming back into the play, but he can't join the line-out. It's been already set.
United States were not happy with their play in the lineouts against Scotland, but this looks much better.
Release him,
Hodges
Canada,
takes it.
that's fine, stay on. It's out, that's all right.
It's out.
Okay. That was accidental.
Bowling ahead was
Nothing meant
Dorsey.
there. Nothing meant there.
Dorsey
Canada
banged into
ball.
a player in front of him, so it's a set scrum Canada. This is the first set of the game. United States has not crossed center yet,
Wait for my call.
and that's a contributing
Wait,
factor.
ball's away. Stay up, stay up, stay up. I have no ball. Just wait for me. Engage. Thank you.
There's a look at your pack weight, Gary.
No difference at all. The big difference is the experience in the front row. They're relatively the same size.
Williams tries the blind side, but has no help there. It's picked up by
Stay
Timoteo.
backwards, straight.
The high kick, Foth underneath it for Canada. As the United States finally puts the ball into Canadian
Release,
territory.
get away, 5. That's okay.
Witkowski busting through the line, looking for help from the big men as Canada pushes
Away in the
forward.
tackle, that's good. Stay on.
Williams, Barker, Stanley has some space out wide. He kicks. Nicely taken there. As the United States covering well defensively.
See advantage.
Herkus in on the tackle. He was the one who picked up the ball also for the United States.
Wait, no, wait, because you might want a different decision.
Yeah, there's a player, the United States player's offside, so they have a decision of the kick. They can go to touch.
Okay.
Scrum. So Al Sharon chose the
On the
scrum.
22 night.
The American player was in front of the kicker,
Inside.
and he entered into the play. It
Yeah,
was
around
interesting that the American fly half used his left foot, Mike Herkus, so he's got a right foot and a left foot, something Canada should note.
Hold on.
Morgan Williams with the push in. Canada obviously liking their chances in the scrum.
Blood.
And it looks like Pat Dunkley has a bit of an injury.
Pat Dunkley getting some tension there.
So if he's allowed to go off, and he's got a time period he can go off and get the blood treated, and if he goes off, then it's very unfortunate. Mark Lawson will come in to replace Pat Dunkley for his first cap. Mark Lawson, the BC Player of the Year. He's a new player to the squad, and this will be his first blood sub. Patrick Dunkley, of course, does not want to go off, but here comes Mark Lawson for his first cap for Canada. A great time for any player.
Lawson was very strong in Canada's West game against Scotland on the island. It's a big day for him, obviously,
Go, please. Up we go.
but probably not the way he wanted to get his first cap.
No.
He comes right on the field and goes right into the engine room, right into the kitchen where it's very hot up there.
That's a free kick. Wait.
Taken quickly by Williams, but
No. I want you back.
Alan Lewis is going to call him back.
I want some order. Free kick.
I like the way the referee's talking to the players. Like it or not, right or wrong decision, he is talking to the players.
Bob bowling forward.
He's on his feet, no problem.
Big hit there, Gary, but what happened? What was the call?
Well, what happens is the support was too slow arriving to Danny Baugh, and therefore he must give the ball up to the player on his feet. So Danny drives in, and American prop Mike McDonald is right over. He goes for the ball and he can't get it. So Canada was called for holding onto the ball on the ground. Americans have chosen to kick the touch, and it's their line out.
Kirk Kasijian with the throw for the United States. His father played in the first ever game for the United States in international rugby back in 1976 against Australia. This is Schubert now going forward for the United States.
The advantage, white knock on.
Dalzell, as the ball goes out wide to Timoteo. He kicks for space. Winston Stanley's over. It rolls into touch.
The Americans have crossed center, and now they begin to put pressure on the Canadian team. Pat Dunkley all taped up, ready to come back in. Now, Mark Lawson can come out, but he can also come back in again, and that's just a blood substitution. So Canada's not using any of their substitutions. They've still got 6 players on the bench that are capable of coming in. 7 players on the bench capable of coming in.
Good hand for Mark Lawson. We'll no doubt be seeing more of him in the future. One of the bright spots in Canadian rugby. Dunkley with the throw on the return, finds Tate.
Hey, you can now. There it is.
Canadian pack powering forward. Williams frees it for Barker. Barker's kick doesn't find touch, taken there by Timoteo. The up and under goes out on the fly.
How we are. No. Ball. Wait, please.
Timoteo usually plays in the wing for the United States, so this is a new position for him at fullback, and he'll be under pressure today as well, I'm sure. And the first chance at a kick, and he kicks it straight out of bounds, so that's an error for the United States.
I'll give him time. We have 5 in.
Dunkley with the service, looking at the back of the lineout. Goes to Tate. Williams. Barker to Ryan Banks, joining in again, the 8th man from Canada, bowling on. Al Sharon playing this game at flanker instead of second row as against Scotland with the addition of Tate.
Straight to deck. All of you, straight to deck, lying over the
We
ball,
talked
right?
about the first cap for Mark Lawson. Now let's go downstairs to another Mark McAllister, who has the young Canadian with him.
Thank you very much, guys. Yes, indeed, Mark Lawson with his first cap. A brief one, but you got in there anyway.
Yeah, well, I guess I said the first one's the hardest one. That wasn't so hard, actually. Hope I get in for a little longer next time.
You were in there briefly. Your thoughts on how things are going out there?
Oh, they're going well. Just turned the ball over a couple times in their end. We've had the measure of possession. Looks like they're going for goal now, though, so hopefully we won't hit it. We've had the measure of possession, the measure of territory, so hopefully it'll go all right from here on in.
All right, thanks, Mark. Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you very much, Mark. Link Wilfley with the attempt at goal.
He kicked against Scotland for the United States last week and had a poor game kicking, and this was last week anyway in San Francisco. This was beyond his range, but he thinks he can make it, and as Jared Barker in the game against Scotland made it, this is Link's chance to put the Americans on top.
Looks like he has enough boot, but pushed it just wide. So no points there. Canada dodges a little bit of a bullet. Has the game gone according to form as you thought, Gary?
Well, yes, it has. The Americans have made the mistakes when they were put under pressure, and Canada has played the ball a large time in the USA half.
Herkis kicking for space, but Foth is over there. The ball runs out. Nicely done.
Don't touch.
Now you would expect the Americans to pressure the Canadian lineout and see if they can steal the ball in Canada's half.
Here's our mark.
David Clark, an interesting onlooker, but taken nicely by Mike James.
That's okay.
David Clark will not be relaxed
Don't touch him.
for most of this game.
Williams back to Barker. And Barker finds touch.
I think Canada in the early goings wants to keep things pretty conservative, so you won't see them attacking from everywhere. They'll be playing conservative rugby. Bang the ball into touch from inside the 22. Hopefully pressure the America's line out and maybe steal some ball.
Looking for Hodges, but stolen nicely nicely there by Tate, the Canadian big man. Rod Snow wheels it to Morgan Williams. Barker gives to Danny Baugh, who slips on the field. Grass cut a little shorter here in Markham than the game against Scotland. With numbers outside, Witkowski back inside to Stanley. There's James to Witkowski. Out wide to Sean Foth, and it looked like he was grabbed right around the head.
That's what's called bringing the crowd into the game. Great passage of play there by the Canadian team. Check the lineup. They do check. They do compete. John Tate from Ontario wins that. Cardiff Player of the Year.
Here it is. Stay on, stay on.
Williams now with the service to Barker. To Cannon. Cannon met there, though, strongly.
You gotta roll away. You gotta roll away, Dave. The tackle player.
This is a tough call by Alan Lewis. I doubt if he had much chance at all to roll away from that, but that's the possession that Canada needs, 20 meters outside the American line.
That's a fair hit. That's a fair hit.
This is good defense for the United States. You did not see this against Scotland. Comes in and makes a good stick. There's not much chance of Cannon getting out of there.
Cater with the big blow.
No, the only thing I would say was
John Cannon actually made his debut against the United States last year. His Canadian debut. John Teal there.
You wanted a secondary
scored a big try last game against Scotland.
Right, it was a topic of conversation in the Canadian camp all week. John Teal, if you see the ball get inside the 22, I think John Teal will be going for another try for Canada. Strong running, straight lines from the big man.
One out. One out, no, always one out.
U.S. line out.
That's all right.
Not picture perfect, but picked up there by Schubert.
Stay on.
Dalzell with the service. There's Cater, kicks it through. Stanley, fearless, grabbing that ball with Cater wrapped around him. Witkowski. Canadian big man getting involved. Williams finds Barker. Barker dipsy doodles and fakes his kick out to Stanley. Under pressure, kicks it out on the fly. Winston Stanley, Canada's top try scorer, Gary.
Yes, and Winston Stanley, winner of 48 caps for Canada, is extremely experienced player. He's on the top of the list, along with Al Sharon, of course, who leads all time with 67th cap today. Rod Snow receives his 40th, so you see the experience of the Canadian team as opposed to the team from the United States.
Hodges grabbed that ball, wasn't for him, but busting through there is Wilfley. Dalzell. The big McDonald. McDonald rolling on. Wrapped up there by Teal. U.S. pressing inside the Canada 22. Kirkus, nice movement there. United States controlling. Canada in a bit of bother here. But a great tackle by Jared Barker. Beautiful defensive play. Nice job.
And here comes Morgan Williams attacking from inside. Very risky stuff, but exciting. Mike James up at the play.
United States with a runner out here. Nikita, his first touch of the ball, back inside to Schubert. Dalzell with the ball.
There it is, hands away, Canada. Stay on.
Picked up there by the big man.
Hands away, Canada. Okay, I'll tell you what, we'll take a scrum. Take a scrum.
This will be USA ball because the USA team was going forward, and it was a ruck ball.
Went forward, take a scrum.
It's interesting to note, Gary, the last time these two countries played in the para tournament, Dalzell had a great game for the United States, but obviously he didn't face Morgan Williams in that match.
Well, he didn't face Morgan Williams. He didn't face Al Sharon. There were several Canadian internationals missing at that time. They arrived later in the week, and Canada was able to pull off a victory.
Court Schubert, the American who's down on the field right at the moment.
Well, Court, he's had a good start. He played in the wing against Scotland, and I didn't think he played particularly well, but he's played well in the center so far. Maybe he's better suited to playing the centers. He's one of these people with American parentage, so he's able to qualify, and he's played a lot of his rugby in England and in Italy, but he qualifies because of parentage to play for the United States, and he's come in to add some experience and strength to the American team.
We'll take a look at the injury now.
Just go for the grab early. Go for the, no, it's their ball.
Witkowski brings someone down,
Finds up, nice.
and he's going to take a boot to the head, if I'm not mistaken.
No, not ready, not ready. Engage. Thank you. Don't get...
Didn't really see it there,
break
but
up.
trust me, he got a boot
Break
to the
up.
head.
No, just 1 second, just 1 second.
Well, that's just par for the course for rugby. You shake your head and continue on.
A little love tap. Dalzell with the put in.
No, come back.
Interesting matchup, this matchup at the scrum half position.
Right, even though Dalzell's had more caps than Morgan Williams is very experienced playing professional rugby in Stade de Francais.
Hodges moving forward for the United States as they continue to attack. Fafita
Release.
going forward.
Okay.
Dalzell
okay.
now
No, it's okay.
as U.S. finds Cater dancing
Okay.
with not a lot of room to go.
See advantage, see advantage,
Schubert,
see advantage. Stay on.
they try the other way. Back
The advantage,
inside to the
offside.
big man, McDonald.
Offside over here.
So Al Chiron turned the ball carrier, but it was to no avail because the Americans were playing advantage on an offside call. I do like
Offside,
Alan Lewis
12.
making the calls and letting the players know exactly what's going on. Gives them an excellent opportunity. I'm sure this will be a attempted goal.
Actually, you got a belt again. It's the old rule.
One of the keys the United States wanted to do before this game was to talk about securing the ball, and maybe at the beginning, Gary, they didn't have much of it, but they've had a little bit more lately.
Don't get it done now.
We've had a wee bit more success. Now this is kind of crucial that Dave Hodges is going off to treat an injury. He got split open in the lip and got cut for many stitches against Scotland, and he had the stitches taken out just prior to the game, and he's opened his lip again. He's going to come off, and it's a blood substitution, so he'll be able to come back on again. And having Dan Lyle missing, and to lose Dave Hodges, you'd certainly lose some leadership.
And
The USA team.
And against Scotland, Gary, that was kind of the beginning of the end when Hodges went out and they had a few other injury players come on. They just didn't have the depth to continue on. Wilfley now with the attempt at goal. To put the United States up by 3. Struck it through 3-0 for the United States as they draw first blood here in Markham. A little surprised at the way things have gone so far, Gary?
Well, the Americans have not spent too much time in the Canadians' half. When they have, they've come up with the points. Again, Canada needs to play a large portion of their game in position, and the position they want to be in is inside the Americans' half. They've had enough possession to do that, but they've chosen not to do it, not to kick, but try to run the ball. So it's interesting to see if they'll adjust.
Barker with the restart.
That's okay.
One nicely there, Canada. Dunkley wins possession. There's Ryan Banks. He's been involved a lot. Inside to Dan Baugh. On they come. Oh, pass just behind Witkowski. Cannon picks it up. Sees a little bit of space behind the flat defense of the Americans. And they'll clear the danger.
They put Micas Hurkacz on his left foot again. He showed that he's quite willing to use that left foot. He's primarily a right-footed kicker, and he didn't get much yardage on that, but he's able to use that left foot. That's a good skill for fly halves, young fly halves, being able to kick with both feet.
Hurkacz played for the Australian under-21 and 19 teams. He's another import brought in here. Chiron to Rod Snow. Always dangerous when Snow gets ahead of steam.
Away in the tackle, United States. Thank you. It's on his own foot, it's his own foot.
Canada looks like they've lost
They went
possession.
forward at the death. Went forward at the death. You knocked it off your own foot.
So the referee's called not the American for being offside, but went off the Canadian foot, which it did do. But he's called a knock-on from Canada, so it's a set scrum. Now expect some pressure from the Canadian scrum in this situation. This is where they'll try to use their experience to put pressure on the Americans.
And release.
United States with the ball.
They did put the pressure on.
Straight in the side.
Captain Dave Hodges picks up, but no support, and his support players came in from the side. And on the tackle, the new law this year, you must come in from back, so your rear end must face your goal line. So he's been called, the support player who was too late arriving, arrived from the side, and this is an easy 3 points for Jared Barker.
Hodges back in after that blood substitution.
You can see that his lip's been cut, and he's got to clean that blood up. There can't be any blood exposed, so hopefully he'll hold together. He needs a good cut man.
I don't think Mike Tyson's cut man's going to be doing much lately. The next little while, maybe he could come on here. Barker with what amounts to pretty much a sitter here.
He's 22 out of 24 kicks in international rugby.
Bang on the money.
23 out of 25. That's an enviable record.
Barker has brought Canada back to even. It is 3-3.
Canada 3, that's by Jared Barker. Canada 3, United States 3.
Nice way for Canada to answer, get those points back right away.
Well, it's nice to see that Canada has lots of room to run and attack. There's some good handling, and just an errant pass in the end that let them down. But the position on the field is key. When you get those penalties inside the 40, it's probably money for Jared Barker.
Wilfley with the restart. Kicks it deep. Taken there by Barker.
Ball.
Who just bangs it back out of bounds.
No. We need that ball. I'm amazed they're calling for the ball. I can't believe the organizers here can't get a ball on either side of the field to keep the game going. There's lots of fans here that want to see the game continue, and we're playing with one ball.
Lots of fans here in Markham enjoying a sunny Canada Day weekend. The line out. They haven't been pretty for the United States, but they keep possession.
Thank you. Stay on.
Dalzell. Herkus. Oh, nicely done inside to Cater with some space. Looks out wide for Fee.
Out of bounds.
Knocked out of bounds.
Right. It can either be a penalty against Winston Stanley for a high tackle, dangerous tackle, or the out of bounds call. The United States penetrate in the middle of the Canadian backs. Some swift handling, fakes inside to captain. He makes the penetration, missed tackle by Canada. Freddie hasn't covering across. Winston Stanley has the legs to get across and to force him out of bounds. Canada ball. We're in a short team. Look to John Tate to take this ball. John Tate's the major lineup for Canada. That's why he's here. See if the Americans compete. Oh, Mike James.
Kicked out nicely by Canada.
Well, that was an important lineup for Canada to win. The Americans put a little pressure. Canada used a trick play to Mike James at the front. It seemed to work out fine.
There's the most capped rugby player in Canadian history, Al Charron. Looking to urge his team on, always around the ball. United States line out stolen there, but no, it hasn't been touched there by James, but the United States presses on. Trying to secure the ball.
Got to roll away in the tackle. You can't challenge in there. You got to release.
The problem that Ryan Banks made there was he was on the ground. Had he been on his feet, he could have taken that ball, but because he was on the ground, he made the tackle, and the referee clearly said let go of the ball. He wasn't prepared to do that, so he's been penalized. So Link Wilfrey gets another shot at goal. This is a much better angle for him.
Yeah.
1 for 2 for penalties for the United States, who, surprisingly enough, as we heard off the top of the show, have never lost a game here in Markham at Fletcher's Fields, which is a little surprising considering the overall record Canada has against the United States.
Yeah, I don't believe the field's a factor. That's just the fact they played here a couple of times. If they played here 20 times, guaranteed Canada would have some wins. but they need to bring the fans into the game, and they have to do something exciting, and they've got to get the fans behind them. It's called home field advantage. They need the fan support.
The boot is good. Link Wilfley puts the United States back on top by 3-6-3. For a kicker who struggled last weekend against Scotland, he's certainly turned it around here, Gary.
He's got the radar on today, so Canada's got to be wary of one, playing in their half, and two, giving up penalties inside their half. That was a clean description by the referee, Alan Lewis from Ireland, to let go of the ball. And if he says that, you've got to respond.
On the restart, United States
Hands away,
with the
hands
ball.
away.
Dalzell kicks it straight up. Stanley taken again. Fearless coming after that ball. Williams. Barker. Can't break through the United States line. Cannon picked up nicely. He does go through, but his pass goes wanting.
See advantage red. See advantage red.
Nikita scoops up the ball for the United States. But Canada's won it again. Witkowski. Teal with men out wide. Winston Stanley inside to Foth. Flip to Rod Snow, who smells the line, to Danny Baugh. Baugh pushing for the line. Try for Canada.
That is a fantastic try for Canada. That's a world-class try for Danny Baugh. Canada was on advantage. Some wonderful ball handling here. Sean Foth cutting inside. The ball gets loose. Rod Snow gets which way he's going to go. Snow, the snowman, passing to Danny Baugh. Cardiff player, Edmonton player, straight over the line. No one is going to stop Danny Baugh that close to the line. He's an extremely strong Canadian player. A nose for the goal line.
Beautiful run by Dan Baugh, his 24th cap for Canada. And unfortunately, I don't think Dan's going to be available for the return leg of this home-and-home series. He will be at John Tate's wedding as his best man, Gary.
Well, that's correct. Canada will lose two of their starting players, John Tate and Danny Baugh, and replacements will be called up. They'll be back in our next game against Uruguay. So they're out for one, but they're back in against. The important thing is for Canada to score a lot of points against the United States and take those points into Chicago.
Barker, money in the bank again, as Canada takes the lead for the first time here in Markham, much to the delight of head coach David Clark. There is your try scorer, Danny Baugh. Baugh came through David Clark's very successful under-20 program over in Victoria.
There's a lot of players that have come through the Pacific Pride. It was called the CCSD in those days when Danny went through, and he was just a very tough boy coming out of Edmonton, and he's been molded, and now he's one of the top players in the world.
Banks underneath this one. He goes forward. Can't be brought down. Finally, it's Herkus tackling the big man to the ground. Whipped out there, Witkowski. As Canada continues to put some pressure on the United States by running the ball. Sharon leaves it there for the big man, Tate. But his pass goes to the ground, scooped up by the United States.
It's not going to come from that. It'll be a Canada ball. They went forward.
So this is Mike McDonald, Big Mike McDonald going down. So they're going to take a break here for injury from Mike McDonald because they can't scrummage. He wants to carry on, but he can't carry on without the loose head. And so he'll get some attention.
We'll take a look at it right here.
Mike McDonald from the U.S.
There's John Tate trying to drive through. He flips the ball to Al Strone. Luckily, Al does not knock the ball on. It goes backwards. Captain Hodges is on the ball quickly, and also Danny Baugh goes down, and Danny Baugh's receiving treatment as well as Mike McDonald. So both players down on the play. Danny Baugh's first up. Not surprising.
McDonald looked like he hit his own man there, collided with him a little bit, took a knock to the head.
Rugby Canada urges you to support.
Well, Mike McDonald's a 290-pounder from the University of California, Berkeley. He's one of Jack Clark's boys, and he's young, but he's a promising prospect. So here we hear Morgan Williams throwing the ball out. Al Sharon said it wasn't good enough for him. John Tate showing his athleticism. He's from Barrie, Ontario, by the way. We had dinner there last night, and so there you go. Al Sharon lets the ball go. Very smart not to pick that up, and then loose ball. Danny Baugh goes on the ground. Mike McDonald wasn't in any of those plays. He's obviously received a collision. Americans need him to stay on the field. He's matching up against John Tate. Canadian ball, and of course Tate will put pressure on him. There's no mercy in rugby. There's Tom Billups, the USA coach, former hooker for the Eagles.
Engage. Thank you.
Just took over the job in January.
Stay down.
Banks flips to Williams. Stanley. Freddie Astlin with the ball. He gets touched, taken to the ground.
Never going to come from there.
Can't release it.
Can't release it. It's considered a maul ball and then goes to ground, so it's a change of possession. It's Freddie Aslin's job to get that ball back, and he was tied up immediately by the American defense.
Dalzell puts it in. Big push from the Canadian pack. Baugh wraps up Dalzell.
No problem. That's good.
Now you give that credit to the Canadian front row. I did a cap count of the Canadian front row, and the USA has a total of 20 international appearances, and Canada has 90 international appearances. So they put huge pressure on the Americans, which result in a changeover of possession.
Stay bound. Thank you. That's all right.
Williams tackled quickly there. Ball's loose. Herkus with a back pass. Wilfley on out wide to Fee. Fee with a lot of pace. He has a lot of drive, but nicely covered up there by Jared Barker.
David Fee receiving his first cap today. It's a big day for him. He's a sevens expert. Has never played for the 15 side. Sean, when Fee gets the ball out wide, you'll see that Sean Foth has got a lot of space to make up, and he's just not quick enough to get to him to make a tackle. So that's a missed tackle by Sean Foth, and luckily he pop kicked the ball too far. Jared Barker touched the ball down. 20-meter dropout.
Sure we're behind, boys.
So there's an American break when really he probably shouldn't have put the ball in the air. That's the inexperience of a first cap.
On the restart, fumbled there by Herkus, who finds Fee, who just bangs it back. Jared Barker finds a bit of a hole.
Ola Fatuto for his first touch on the ball today.
He's a big man, strong arm there, but he stepped out of bounds.
Head away, baby. Head away. That's the stuff.
Fafita, a big man, a big package to handle and to bring down.
240 pounds, lots of experience, did not play against Scotland. I don't know why he didn't play, he was unavailable, but he's come into this side. And you're right, he is a big package to knock down.
Tate wins another line out for Canada. Canadians press on. Williams, Barker, Banks involved. The straight arm there.
Release him, Red. White, release.
Ball's out. Sharon comes back around the other way. Barker dances, but not a lot of support.
Hands away. No, he was holding. He's got a hold. He can't hold it in there.
Jared Barker called for holding the ball on the ground. Again, it's the referee's decision.
What is it, Skip?
If we take a look at the straight arm first, Gary, Ryan Banks.
Straight ahead to Kurt Schubert and straight into the American back row guys. Lots of players there, but can't able to produce the ball. Ryan Banks is a power runner, Burnaby player, former professional from Bedford. So like Danny Baugh, when he gets the ball, it's going to be some power running going forward, and that's why he's in the backfield on those shortened lineouts. This is a good close-up of Dave Hodges. This is the cut lip that he split open against Scotland, and obviously he'll hope to keep that nice and tight and stop the blood from flowing. Looks like their cut man's done a good job. We'll see if the radar is still holding true for Link. This is definitely within his range.
Link will flee with the attempt here
This is the kicker we saw in San Francisco, not the man that hit 2 from the sidelines today. That kick was indicative of what happened against Scotland. So everything seems to be right. It's a right-footed kicker, and he just didn't hit that one at all.
The missing link right there. Barker, the restart. Dalzell flips it to Timoteo. Timoteo for the jink through. He's by the Canadian defense. There goes Kasijian looking for support. Fifita can't grab the ball.
Looked a bit
He's
forward.
hit by Dan Baugh.
Okay, it's going to come.
Canadians playing on advantage. Look for the Americans to put some pressure on this scrum. See if Canada's front row will hold.
Yeah.
There seems to be a little bit of hold in the Canadian defense. They're able to counterattack very easily. I'm sure they'll have to tighten that up in the second half.
It's almost like they lull him to sleep a little bit.
Crouch and hold for me. Engage.
Americans are making mistakes, but the Canadians aren't shutting them out from loose play. They're not organizing their defense quickly enough.
Mo Timoteo with a nice change of pace to break through the line.
Danny Baugh is requiring assistance. Now, there is a replacement player on the bench called Adam Van Staveren, and Adam Van Staveren is an open side flanker, but of course not the experience that you have with Danny Baugh.
Baugh ran into that big package of Fifita as he was going for the ball, put Fifita on his back, but obviously that's hurt Danny a little bit.
Well, I think Danny only knows one speed, and that's 100 miles an hour straight ahead into anything that's coming at him. You know, I know in Cardiff when he plays, the crowd just screams when Baugh comes on the field and makes his patented big stick, knocks somebody down. But it does take a toll on your body.
Baugh being looked at, but no doubt he's going to stay on.
Well, I'm not sure that. I think it looks like he's got a little shiner under the eye, so it may be a concussion. And if it's a concussion, that'll be the end of the game for Danny Baugh. And he would not play next week in Chicago if he was sustained a concussion, or in 2 weeks' time in Chicago. It looks like Danny Baugh going off. He doesn't want to go off. Philip Murphy's coming on as a replacement player, so he will go to number 8, and Ryan Banks will go to open side flanker. I'm sure that Philip Murphy was going to come on at some point in this game, and he's coming out a little earlier than expected, but no problems here.
Murphy scored a try against Scotland a couple weeks ago in Vancouver. He gets an early touch but gets tackled to the ground. The United States tries to steal possession but picked up there nicely by Ryan Banks. Snow flips to Stanley. Stanley with the big kick. But it doesn't find touch. Timoteo now to Nikita.
Wait, please. Wait, please. Wait, please.
We've got a few problems behind the play, and the referees decided to blow this up. He's going to talk to John Teal and Luke Gross. Luke Gross is 6'9", former basketball player, professional player in Glenelg.
Just the pair of you? Just settle down. Let's play rugby. No. Settle. We're going to start with a scrum here, boys, please. Thank you.
So he's decided, and this is a very unusual call, the Americans were on the counterattack, and he decided to blow the play up, and yet he's given the ball to Canada.
Wait, please. Stay up.
So I don't really understand this call. This is a big advantage to Canada and not such an advantage to the United States.
Stay up.
The referee will call crouch and hold, engage.
Thank you. Up we get, please.
So John Teal's got to be careful here because he's just been in a bit of a fracas and his energy level's really high, and the scrum went down on his side. So the referees come over to look at the tight head side. It's solid.
Murphy picks it up. Tries the blind side, not a lot of room there. And he's called the penalty for holding onto the ball.
Isolated and holding. Boys are on our feet. They've got to play the ball.
So Alan Lewis has been consistent with that call. Philip Murphy picks it up. He didn't really gain and didn't really get the Americans going backwards, and support was slow to get to him. And Alan Lewis has been consistent all game. He's called that 3 or 4 times already, holding onto the ball on the ground. You must give the ball to the player on his feet.
You can.
With halftime looming here, a big 3 points for the United States to pull within a single point at 10-9 if they make this kick. But if is a big question mark.
Well, you wonder about Link's confidence of not having a good game against the Scotland team last week and shanking the last one. But this is from the right side for a right-footed kicker, and he should be aiming at the far post and just let it swing in.
This is it.
Will Flea eyes it. Gets a little razzing from the crowd with a boot. And he's pushed it left again.
That was right on the half, so they needed that to get the point, so the Americans go in. 4 points down.
10-6 your score here after 40 minutes at Markham's Fletcher's Fields. A pretty good half of rugby. Canada came out and started well. U.S. took it to them a little bit, but after that, Canada has retaken the lead, Gary, and looks pretty strong.
Well, Canada scored the only try of the game. It was a fantastic try. And I think what David Clark will tell him at halftime is to play more in the USA's half.
And obviously, Canada, one of their key players in this game, Morgan Williams, his matchup with Kevin Dalzell. Morgan, a very flashy player. Obviously, he's looking for a home right now, would like to show well, has done quite well. And right now, Morgan joins our Mark McAllister down on the field.
Thank you, Craig. Morgan, star of the 99 World Cup. You guys, cheers World Cup, but first you got a few possessions, but also a few penalties in the first half.
Yeah, well, I mean, intent, and pretty much that's all we have to do. We're a little loose on on some of the rucks, but you know, we're going to go talk about it in the second half, and we're going to come out and we're going to be tight. So.
Okay, good luck in the second half. All right, we'll be back right after this. Qualifiers, Team Canada versus Team USA. Welcome back to Markham, Ontario, just north of Toronto. Game 1 of World Cup qualifying between the U.S. and Canada. As it stands right now, Canada is on top by a score of 10-6. But this is a rivalry that's been going on for quite some time, one that has increasingly become more and more difficult for Canada with each game.
They're our North American cousins, so it's certainly a rivalry there. There's bragging rights for North America, and even people that don't follow rugby all that much don't care to see Canada lose to the USA in any sport.
John Peel, the opening try for Canada.
The more familiar you are with an opponent, sometimes you learn their tendencies and the way they play and their attitudes and their personalities, and lots of times that kind of harbors some feelings of disrespect. No, I wouldn't say disrespect, but certainly dislike and discontent with each other, and that's where the aggressive nature comes in a Canada-USA game.
It's just the game, you know, you look forward to all year, USA-Canada, and it's, like I said, it's kind of like going against your big brother or your little brother. There's two brothers going at it, and you don't want to let him get one up on you.
Well, that's Canadians, you know, we grow up comparing ourselves to Americans, and that's why we get such joy when we beat them in something like the ice hockey final. So when we're overseas, when in professional leagues, we're actually pretty good buddies because we have similar backgrounds. But when you put the Eagles shirt on or the Maple Leaf or the Canada shirt, it's a big deal, and you don't want to lose to them, and it's bragging rights for a whole year.
There's no love lost between these two countries, Gary, when it comes to rugby.
They've been close. I mean, they've been one-point wins and 1-point losses and 2-point wins and things like that. So that's where it comes from. I mean, it's not that we've ever run away from them. That's why the rivalry's there. And of course, they've always been the big brother, and Canada's always been trying to match what the United States have done. So hopefully we can carry it off on Saturday.
Back with first half highlights right after this from Fletcher's Fields in Markham, Ontario.
You have to wait for...
Back here on a very sunny day in Markham, Ontario, just north of Toronto. Game 1 of World Cup qualifying between the U.S. and Canada. Canada on top right now by a score of 10-6, but head coach Dave Clark said just a few moments ago that he's looking for improvement in half number 2.
Well, thoughts on the first half, we're making it hard for ourselves at the back of the scrum. All we've got to do is clear our 22 and we can play rugby. I mean, we demonstrated that right through. We've been close to their line 3 or 4 times. We just need to put a little bit more precision on the ball. But we can't play that sort of rugby in the last 10 minutes inside our 22 and not get out of there. That makes it hard work.
Let's send things upstairs for highlights of the first half. Craig and Gary, guys, take it away.
Thank you very much, Mark. Some more hard work for Canada. David Clark not all that happy, it didn't seem. He probably wasn't all that happy with the start. Link Wilfley for the United States boots it through. The Rotherham, England player makes it 3-0 for the United States.
Jared Barker answers the call with a sitter, and he slots one right down the middle. 3 points, Canada.
Wilfley would have his problems, but he did make another penalty goal to make it 6-3. United States on top once again.
And then come the only try of the match. Winston Stanley back inside to Sean Foth. A bad pass to Rod Snowden. He collects it, flips out to Danny Baugh for a straight ahead running over the line. Danny Baugh to try. Danny Baugh has left the game though with an injury.
Canada leads here after 40 minutes. We still have 40 to go. It's 10-6. The second half is coming up, so please don't go anywhere. Canada retakes the field, and they take the field in the second half here at Fletcher's Fields in Markham with a 10-6 lead. Halftime planned down to the moment and minute and seconds, Gary, but Canada a little late coming out. Maybe David Clark had some extra things to say to them.
Well, I mean, it sounded like he was a little hot going into the change room, and you know, they deserve a good talking to because they have control of this game. If they just utilize the advantage of field position and don't mess around inside their 22, I think things will go right.
What changes would you make if you were the United States?
Well, I don't think the United States can do too much. I think keep playing the same way. Again, play for position on the field. Wait for Canada to take the penalties. But when you don't have a international goal kicker, that's the big story of the first half. You know, 2 for 5 is not a good one for Link Wilfrey. Jared Barker's 2 for 2. He's kicked 24 out of 26 kicks. So the Americans can't fix things too much. I think that's the big toll. The penalty count, 7 to the United States, but they weren't able to take advantage of that. 5 to Canada. Rucks and mauls are about the same. Canada had more scrums. I don't think the possession was greatly in favor of Canada. And Danny Baugh getting the try, and Danny Baugh missing, and he's out of the game right now and replaced by Adam Van Staveren. So fresh legs, but less experience. We'll see how Canada handles this kickoff. They'll want to get out of their half quickly.
Especially after what David Clark had to say just there at halftime.
That's okay.
Nicely taken by Sharon.
Straight to deck. You straight down. This man. You got to be on your feet. Straight down.
Okay, talking to Pat Dunkley. Al Sharon takes the kickoff beautifully. Goes to ground to ensure possession. Pat Dunkley comes in and goes off his feet. And this is one that Link should hit.
Pretty much a sitter straight down the pipe, but there is an American player on the field. Referee Alan Lewis saying he doesn't have to stay there. He could go for the side. I can't make out his number as of yet.
Yeah. Oh no, for an injury.
Lewis very talkative, isn't he, Gary?
For an injury.
Yeah. He's giving Dan Hodges. Of course, Dan Hodges knows what the international laws are. And he can go off for, the injured player can go off and he can come back on.
Yeah, of course.
Can be a blood substitution. So they're looking to see if they can find some blood.
While the training staff is on, Link Wilfley.
You see, this is a live
kick.
Yeah, this is a live. I can't believe there's 3 players on the field, 3 non-players on the field. This is a live ball.
No. 22. That was not over.
He's missed it again.
Well, this so far is the story of this game.
Canada 10, United States 6.
That's 4 misses for Link Wilfley.
Well, I looked at Dave Hodges, and he gave get a kicker on the field sign to the coaching staff. So we'll see if Tom Billups brings in a substitution.
It's interesting. Wilfley earned a contract overseas last year because of his kicking, and he hasn't done a great job here. Philip Murphy gets the touch. There's Ryan Banks securing the ball for Canada. Barker.
That's exactly the ball that Canada needs. Exactly the ball Canada needs. Get out of their half, play in the Americans' half, pressure the Americans.
Jared Barker, the long line, carrying on the long line of tradition of top Canadian kickers. Another solid outing for Mr. Barker.
Well, Canada has a world-class goal kicker on the sidelines in Bobby Ross, and Jared's holding the spot right now, and as long as he continues to kick well, he'll hold that position.
Looking for Hodges at the back of the lineout, but the ball goes over his head. Picked up, though, by Farner.
Hands away, hands away. Thank
Philippe Farner, Frenchman playing for the United States. Here they come, but nicely tackled there by Witkowski.
Another way, 10.
Stopping the U.S. drive.
Straight in the side. Leaving of the ball.
Again, calling the Americans coming in the side. Morgan Williams looks to take it quick, but probably a little safer for Jared Barker to bang the ball inside the 22 meters of the United States. Now look for Canada to call a quick line out here. This is something a lot of international teams do. They make their call now, and they'll go into the line out and put the ball in quickly. But if there's only one ball, this ball is likely to go over the fence. So therefore, there is a bit of a delay.
Kicked out of touch there. Canadian lineout.
But there's no chance of putting the ball in quickly because there's only one ball for the international. I'm sure this is something the match officials should be looking at.
Stay in the 15, stay in the 15.
Dunkley with the restart. The service, looking for Tate, taken nicely there.
Stay.
Canada just knocking on the door of the 22, crosses it, pushing forward, nice big push there.
Knock forward there. Knock forward, scrum white.
Knock forward, a scrum down for the United States, and let's go downstairs and talk to the lone Canadian try scorer, Danny Baugh, with our Mark McAllister.
Thank you very much, Craig. Yes, Danny Baugh out of this game, but not before you scored the try and to get your team on top.
I think the rest of the guys did all the work. Rod Snow gave it to me. There's no one in front of me. From 10 yards out, I better score that one, I think, yeah.
A little frustrating, obviously, for you to have to sit on the sidelines, but what are you observing so far in the second half?
Well, I think the guys are going to come out and get stuck in. What little breeze there is today, we've got now in the second half, and I think we can use that to our advantage.
I appreciate this. Good luck in the second half.
Thanks very much. Appreciate that.
Winston Stanley takes the ball for Canada, dances through the United States tacklers. A little Fred Astaire move there. Barker, Witkowski with numbers out wide. Here's Foth with his speed, trying to get by Fee, his opposite number, but taken down.
Sean Foth looking to put the ball back inside on the replay. See Jared Barker moving the ball out wide. Nick Witkowski looking for the long pass. Sean goes wide, looking to go back inside. He's not really that pacey. He's not going to run away from anybody, and he just gets huddled into touch.
U.S. lineout. Go to the middle. That's better to Farner. U.S. drives on. Big man pushing just outside their own 22. Herkus with all types of time, and he shanks it.
Okay, again, this is the inexperience of some of the American players when the pressure's on. There wasn't much pressure on Herkus at all on that, and he still managed to put the ball about 15 meters into touch. I think the forwards could have run it into touch further down the field.
Dunkley with the service to Tate, nicely tapped back to Williams. There's Barker to Cannon. Williams to Sharon.
Release, thank you.
Williams busy like a bee picking up the ball. Barker finds Stanley to Foth again. And Foth has dropped the ball. It's gone into touch. We just like to say to Danny Baugh's parents in North Battleford, Saskatchewan, that his knees are in fact okay, and he's doing fine. We wanted to pass that along. Danny asked if we would do that for him. And what Danny wants, the size of him, Danny gets.
Danny has had some knee operations at Cardiff, but they're 100% now. and he's, I'm sure that's not a problem.
Stay there, stay there, stay up. Stay
United
up,
States with the scrum.
Stay up. Just stay
Canada
up and wait.
playing in the U.S. half of the field,
Crouch and
much to the
hold.
delight, I'm sure, of David Clark. The United States look to relieve pressure here with a bigger boot
Crouch and hold.
than the last
Engage.
time. Dalzell with the put-in.
That's a crooked fade. Took feet again.
Canada put a little bit of a tight head nudge on them, and the Americans put the ball in crooked, so it's a free kick to Canada. They're going to play this quickly, obviously.
Quickly taken there as Canada presses forward. Williams, Barker, Witkowski,
And release.
just over the 22.
Thank you.
Williams. John Cannon kicks it through, and Fee, hearing the footsteps of Ryan Banks come barreling through. Pretty scary sight to see such a big man powering in on you, right into the corner.
Lovely play by John Cannon. He saw some empty space there. He gets a fortuitous bounce. There's McPhee feeling the hot breath of Ryan Banks breathing down on him. Canada ball. Look for Canada to drive this ball.
Line out, taken there by Tate, tapped down. Murphy with it on the ground. Williams, Barker, Witkowski can't hold on. Picked up by Timoteo for the United States, playing advantage. Gall back to Herkis,
Advantage over.
and that's a better boot.
Much better boot for the young international player. Canada making some very basic handling skills, especially inside the American 22. I thought that the line-out, the Americans didn't compete in that line-out, and yet the ball was not thrown correctly. And Canada was not able to drive it and had to throw the ball back 15 meters where they made a basic handling mistake.
Hang on. That's fine, thank you.
Canada's still in the United States
One
half,
out.
but the United States expect them to compete here.
Dunkley looking at the back of the lineout, goes to the middle to Tate. Williams slip,
Forward there.
knocks it on.
No number. Go up.
Okay, this is the time the Canadian needs to settle down a little bit. They're getting a little bit rattled. Americans up early, then Canada going out with a clean ball. Morgan Williams just mishandling that ball.
Steady it there, please, thank you. Let's have it, please, thank you. Get it in, get it in.
With it being a bit of a muggy day, would you expect some substitutions coming, Gary?
Quick wheel.
Yes, I would expect some substitutions from probably both teams. Get some fresh legs out there. The referees called Canada for wheeling the scrum, and they can wheel the scrum. It's quite legal, but they can't pull the wheel. So the referee said that they pulled the wheel. There's the Canada bench. Bob Ross, Marco DiGirolamo, and Kevin Tkachuk.
Come on, boys, let's get this sorted out.
U.S. finds touch. As you hear the Canadian players saying, let's
Not
get
for a
this,
whip wheel. You got them on the nudge
let's
the
get
last
this
time. I don't
sorted
mind
out.
When you push, that's perfect.
Alan Lewis urging instructions. Very talkative, Alan Lewis, the referee. Kasijian with the throw. Looking to the front of the lineup. Bust through there. Al Sharon takes the ball. Taken to ground. Here comes the help from back. Teal pushes on. He's met. Stood up. Canada still with possession. Barker to Dunkley. Barker again. Throws it outside to Stanley. They have numbers out wide. Aslan. Oh, and he drops the ball. Another mistake by Canada.
These are basic handling mistakes, and these guys got to shake that off and get on the page here if they're going to get a win here.
Considering how sharp Canada was against Scotland a couple weeks ago.
Simple switch back inside and mishandled. And again, Winston Stanley and Fred Aslan played lots of rugby together. Freddie Alves is probably the fastest man in the Canadian team. He loves to have the ball out wide, and he hasn't had his hands on the ball very much today.
Kevin Dalzell down for the USA.
Kevin Dalzell, the scrum half from the United States, getting looked at.
Canada's favorite Australian beer. As current the Aussie rugby team.
Looks like they're strapping up a hamstring injury.
National news, sports, and through the
He's had before.
business in Canada.
He has 60 seconds to do this. If not, leave the field. Rugby players just drop the drawers and take the pad off. He's going to go without the strapping. And hopefully he'll be able to go for the rest of the game.
The Government of Canada. Scrum Master. Ben 590.
Dalzell returns.
Dowlings. And MBNA Canada.
I'll tell you, Dalziel is not 6'4". That's for sure. You must have the wrong stat on that
Crouch and
one.
hold.
More like 5'9".
Crouch and hold. Engage. Thank you.
Here's a wheel for Canada. They've already got them wheel partially.
That's all right.
Busting through there, Ryan Banks with the tackle.
Now there's Banks on his feet.
Hands away. Thank you. Come on, get him. Take it.
U.S. still with possession, barreling forward.
Hands away, watch your feet. Get your hands away, stay hands, get out of the side.
Dalzell now, service to Herkus. With a big boot, tries to hit it over Winston Stanley's head, but he's equal to the task. Stanley with the up and under. He got took out there by Cater. Fans didn't like it at all. Play on, though. Loose ball on the ground, picked up by Al Sharon.
Al is showing the captain's leadership that he must. He's very safe. Turnover followed by a kick. That's one of David Clark's policies. Very effective. Pressure on the kicker.
Terrible kick there by Nikita.
American players are offside. Straight ahead, John Teal. Here he goes.
John Teal going for the line with help there. Teal busting through.
Canada goes into the pick and go game. Morgan Williams, Adam Van Stavern getting into the play.
Thank you.
Big Al
Sharon now. Baker, Witkowski, Cannon. Straight ahead, tackled around the head by Cater.
That was a dangerous tackle advantage.
And there's the call.
Canada will take the points here, even though I know Morgan Williams would love to take it quickly and go. Here's the replay. Nick Witkowski, John Cannon. John Cannon, oh, he jump up tackle. Anything above the shoulder is dangerous play. Winston Stanley gets taken out by the tight head prop, Dorsey from the Eagles, so you got to pick your penalties. But this is the penalty for the dangerous tackle. Anything above the neck is a dangerous tackle. Ryan Banks got one 2 weeks ago against Scotland, and
About 13 minutes gone in the half.
Kafer got one against the United States. Again, this is how, as Gareth Rees said last week, this is how Jared makes his money.
Just over 13 minutes gone here in the second half. Barker looking to put Canada up 13-6. If you look at the numbers there, Jared perfect 2 for 2.
You can't rush the penalty, and it could be. What's he going to do? What's the disadvantage here?
But it's a penalty kick. You're not allowed to move.
You can't rush the penalty kick. This is an American mistake, but there's no penalty for this. Jared will simply have to take it again. So watch this. Now, if it was a conversion after the try, you can rush from the goal line.
Link Wilfley, I guess he was a little upset that Jared was 2 for 2 and he had missed about 4 kicks, so he thought he'd go out and stop one.
Maybe he's been concussed. They should check and see how many fingers they're holding up. But you see, in rugby, there's no penalty for that. It could be a penalty back at center, and Jared's asking him, so Jared must refocus, duel through every step he does at practice.
Barker, money in the bank again. 13-6 Canada.
25 for 27 kicks internationally, even with that upset. But no penalty against the United States for that early rush. They will be drop kicking at center. You don't see that happen very often in international rugby.
I think more than a few people were a little confused at that point. Alan Lewis, one of them.
I'm sure he's never seen that in his long reffing career.
The missing Link Wilfley with the reset. Ryan Banks underneath it.
And release him away USA, thank you.
Williams finds Barker, who in turn tries to find touch, and he does. A booming kick by Jared Barker.
That's an example of international punting. That's exactly what Canada wants. Canada does not want to play inside their half. Conrad Hodgkins has come in for number 7, Kurt Schubert. And Kurt Schubert is a fine player. So there must be an injury there, or this could be fresh legs. Look to Canada to do something similar.
For Schubert, USA.
USA line out. Up they go. win possession, but again, not
Stay on
pretty.
your feet. Thank you. And release him too. Thank you. Oh.
Farner goes forward. There is Dalzell to Herkus. And he just kind of...
All those Americans are offside. All Americans are offside. I don't know why there's no call here.
Nikita with the handle there. Dummy, but fooling no one. Nice tackle by Barker. But the big man, McDonald, rumbles forward for the United States. They're across center. Hodges now going forward. U.S. with some better possession here. Quick hands. Flips it outside. Timoteo trying to find Fee, but all he finds is the hands of Winston Stanley, who turns around and boots it. Cater underneath it. Turns and runs. Straight up the field. Stanley brings him down. Herkus. A little chip kick through, but he's got Rod Snow coming at him. Can't pick up the ball. Witkowski.
You're offside. You're offside.
Called on the offside, Nick Witkowski.
Offside.
And it'll be interesting to see what the U.S. does with this.
Here's a kick to the United States. Winston Stanley, remember, was in on that tackle, so there's no fullback back. There's a high kick by the Americans, and all those Americans standing within 10, they're not attempting to retire. That should be a penalty kick to Canada, and because that kick has not been made, that's put the United States in a good position, and they now have received a fair penalty inside Canada's half. But the law is that if you're within 10-meter band going across the field, you cannot be put onside. You must retire. None of the American players retired. They might have been put onside, but they can't be put onside. That should have been a penalty to Canada. And I'm sure that the referee knows that, but it wasn't called, so.
18 minutes gone here.
America was on advantage, and Nick Witkowski is coming back into the play on this penalty, and he played the ball in an offside position. So this, again, is a kick. And now you see the kicking duties have been relieved. So we have a new kicker this time.
Mike Herkus is the one who's going for the boot. It'll be interesting to take a look at John Tate. He seems to be limping right at the moment. There might be another substitution coming on for Canada as Herkus looks at goal. And that is good.
Mike Herkus, USA
13-9 for Canada. Herkus
18 minutes gone.
pulls the visitors closer here at Fletcher's Fields.
Canada have their two back row replacements already in. Philip Murphy's a back row replacement. He is already in. Adam Van Staveren's a back row replacement. He's already in. The next replacement will be someone like Mark Lawson. You know, so...
Jared Barker with the restart. From one kicker, we go to another. Mark McAllister downstairs with Canadian great Gareth Rees.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Yes, Gareth Rees, CEO of Rugby Canada now, and must be very difficult for you to have to stand by on the sidelines after 4 World Cups yourself.
Yeah, it's a bit tough. I'm used to it now. It's been a couple of years, and the way the boys are playing in parts today, I'm really happy, and I'm glad they're out there. Some of these hits going in, and I'm not.
Your assessments on the game so far?
We've done some very good things, but we've done some things that have put the pressure on us. We've given away penalties, and we haven't played good field position, but they're working really hard, and hopefully our fitness will pay off in this last half as it did against Scotland 2 weeks ago.
Obviously taking this match much more seriously than the Scotland match because of what happens as a result of this as far as World Cup is concerned.
No question. This is how we set up our next year's program. It's important that we do well in these qualifiers and get into that win this America's Cup pool. So we're really excited, and the guys are working hard, and we're going forward.
Real quickly, CEO of the organization now, talk about your responsibilities at this point and how things are going for you so far in that role.
Well, it's been more of an inventory right now. We're trying to find out what's going on, and we've done that. Listening to a lot of people, we've had some turmoil in our organization, but we're now confident. We've got some clear objectives that we'll be getting out to the country, and good. Last week was really a big help from the boys on the field, and I think all rugby people were delighted to hear some good news. So hopefully there'll be more of that coming out with myself and Graham Bound get on board and get things running.
Excellent. Thanks for this.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yes, it certainly helps when Canada is on top and winning these matches. Guys, back to you.
Ryan Banks has come off the field for Canada. I'm not sure who's gone in for him. Rod Snow with the tackle there as Fafita goes forward for the United States. Dalzell gets the ball to Herkus.
Oh, that's the man right there, Adam Van Staveren. He's in there for Ryan Banks, and he's forced the penalty, forced the turnover. Again, this is in Jared Barker's range. but his decision whether to go for touch
much quicker. Come on, guys.
or to go for goal.
Didn't take long for Van Staveren to make an impact. Look at that tackle right there.
Good, takes man and ball. Players over top on their feet, not Adam, but the support player, Pat Dunkley, had to be given that ball. Jared Barker has decided that this is within his range, and he'll be going to touch. And we saw 2 weeks ago when he kicked one from 50 meters. This is not dead center, but we saw him kick one from 50 meters against Scotland, so it's definitely reachable.
Barker surveying what he has to do. He's got enough length, and it's through. Money in the bank, Jared Barker. 3 more for Canada. 16-9 for the home side. Here in the second half, World Cup qualifying, game number 1 for these two countries. The rematch in a couple of weeks down south in Chicago. Right now, Canada looking good with the victory, or with the lead. A little early to call a victory, but that is a victorious kick right there by Jared Barker.
Don't second guess Jared Barker. He knows the ones he can hit. He did it last week, 2 weeks ago, and he did it today.
That's all right.
Taken there by Murphy.
And release White, please.
Almost gains back to his own 22. Barker now.
Thank you.
Good pressure on the kicker there. Jared was not able to get the 40-meter punt. Went about 14 meters. But it does take us to a 7-point lead. So it means the American, to tie the game, they must score a try and convert it, which seems to be a bit of a problem for them. They haven't looked dangerous try-wise all game.
U.S. showed a little flair in the first half on some runs, but it's been few and far between. But now they're on the attack. Nicely picked up there by Wilfley.
That's fine.
Van Staveren stole the ball again on his feet. Beautiful rugby by Van Staveren. Morgan Williams
now to Foth. Foth on his man Fee. Back inside to Williams. Williams running. He's hauled down from behind by Fafita. Fafita moves pretty well for a big man.
It's the referee's choice on this, whether to penalize that. He grabbed him by the collar. Here's a great replay. Morgan Williams starts it off, makes a great break inside. Outside is Sean Foth. He's not going to outleg him, but he's looking for support inside. It's Morgan Williams again. Fafita comes back and collars him and treats him like a dog and fires him out of bounds.
Van Staveren making a huge impact in just his 4th cap for Canada. United States with the lineout. Kasijian. Thrown to the back, but tipped there by Tate. Canada can't steal. U.S. controls. The Eagles with the ball.
Stolen by Pat Dunkley.
There it is, Barker. Van Staveren finds Tate. The big man lumbers on past the U.S. 22. Canada continues to push. There is John Cannon dancing. Finds Mike James, who finds the line. Try for Canada.
Bring the crowd into the game. They're in it. Toronto's happy. Canada's happy.
Big Mike James with a beautiful try, finishing off a nice bunch of phased running.
Adam Van Staveren again to John Tate. Very quick player. John Tate protects the ball. That's the key. Didn't throw it away. Picked up by John Cannon. Shakes and bakes. Drives the line. Mike James from Burnaby, British Columbia. Stade Francais star. Hero in Paris. Straight for the line. This man is... We're glad you're back, Mike. You've been away for 4 years, and now he's back with Canada. Jared Barker adds to his total.
James with 3 tries now for Canada. Playing in his 38th test. Jared Barker, as you just saw, made it. Mike James, Alpha secondary in Burnaby. A very integral part of this Team Canada lineup. He's been a nice addition for them, helping them knock off Scotland, and here helping them against the United States. 23-9 your score in the second half. The U.S. looking to make another substitution. Number 17, John Tarpoff coming into the match.
Dan Dorsey's coming off.
Dan Dorsey coming out of the game.
Right, so there's another man for Rod Snow to put the pressure on. So Dorsey's off. He's had enough of Snow.
Tarpoff in for Dorsey.
And here comes Tarpoff to meet the Newfoundlander Rod Snow.
Murphy gathers it for Canada.
And release, please. Stay on.
Williams, Barker.
That's okay.
His boot into the stands.
It's pretty basic rugby for Canada. You see they're fielding the kickoff. There's not too much pressure from the Americans. Set it up with Philip Murphy or a power runner. Give it to Jared Barker. And Jared Barker get us out of our half. Well, the kick wasn't quite good enough. But again, with the pressure that Canada's been putting on the lineouts, the Americans have not looked dangerous.
Lineout's a problem for the Eagles. Last weekend against Scotland, they continue to be, which is kind of surprising with the big men they have in there. But Canada counters with a few big men of their own. And look at that, Al Sharon busting through. Always a nose for a ball. There he is, John Teal running. Where's the support? Teal finds some in Van Staveren. Tate is there. Canada pushes on. Williams now. Canada with numbers out wide if they find the ball. There it is. Aslan to Winston Stanley Foth looking for the line. But a very nice saving tackle there by Fee of the United States.
Hey, Canada, bring the crowd into the game. Here's what you do. Starts with Morgan Williams. Pressure from Val Sharon. Ball goes out wide. Nick Witkowski, Freddie Aslan, Winston Stanley, and Sean Foth just into touch. Canada's on fire. The crowd's on fire. Canada feels the pressure. We're about a little over 3/4 of the way, nearly to the 30-minute mark of the game. We've got a good 12 minutes ready to go. Canada's been given a kick, and for the life of me, I was so excited about the try-scoring ability, I didn't see what that was for.
I missed that one also. The nice tackle there by David Fee of the U.S., and then all of a sudden, Mr. Alan Lewis obviously saw something.
Could be an obstruction call as obstructing the Canadian support runners. That's a likely one, but that's just a guess.
Jared Barker, though, with a chance to put another 3 points on the board.
Right through the middle.
Barker is bang on. 26-9 for Canada. They're starting to pull away a little bit from the United States.
Now that's Jared Barker's 28 kicks. He's 6 for 6 today, but 28 out of 30 internationally. The boot is there. The tradition of Mark Wyatt, Gareth Rees, Bobby Ross is continued. And here comes Bobby Ross to replace Jared Barker. Fantastic game for Jared. And now Bobby Ross, who is equally competent at kicking the ball.
Another blinder for Jared Barker. David Clark wanting to get Bob Ross some touches of the ball. Al Sharon always seems to grab it for Canada. He's lost it and knocked it forward. There'll be a scrum down. But Sharon has really stepped up here in the second half too, Gary, for Canada, kind of taking things by control for himself and going after the ball.
Al Sharon leads by example. If you watch the videos in Al Sharon, he keeps his pace from the start of the game to the end of the game. The man's got a tremendous work rate and is a great leader.
Don't stay down, that's okay. Hands away, red. Hands away, red. Thank you.
Almost stolen by Canada, but Dalzell with it. Skids it through. Winston Stanley over to pick it up. It rolls into touch.
Keep an eye on, Bill.
Come on, Eagle.
Canada coming very slowly to the line out, waiting for Pat Dunkey to arrive on the camera. Here he comes with the tape on his head.
Just there, please, boys. Yeah, thank you.
He's had a good game today around the field, and Canada goes to a shortened line out. Again, you've got Mike James, and you've got John Tate. The lineout's called by Mike James.
He's in. He's in. Go, yeah, he's number 9.
Dunkley with the service. Textbook again for Canada. The push is on. Bob Ross with his first touch. And he's found touch with a very nice kick.
You know, when you look at the United States and their kicking problems they've had today in the game, I think it's one of the single factors. They couldn't keep the pressure on Canada because they missed kickable kicks. Canada replaces Jared Barker as a fine game with a guy an equally competent or maybe even a better punter of the ball with Bob Ross.
Yes, and we do have the player that Bob Ross replaced down on the sideline, Mark McAllister now with Jared Barker.
Thank you, gentlemen. Jared Barker 6 for 6 today, obviously a key contributor in this game. You've got to be definitely happy with that performance and the fact that you guys are on your way to a win.
Oh, definitely. We came here to win, and I think we're showing that last week wasn't a fluke. And it just happens that my job is to kick the goals, and everyone else is doing their job. I got to do mine as well as they're doing theirs.
Congratulations. Looking forward to the next game, obviously, in the States.
Oh, of course. We want to go. You know, we have sights of, you know, winning every game this summer, and I think this is our second step, and we got a few more to make.
All right, thanks for this.
Thanks, Mark.
Big decision.
Not getting too far ahead of ourselves, guys, but yes, already looking forward to the next game.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Big decision to make for the United States here, whether to go for goal or to kick the ball in the corner. Do they consider this game to be lost, or do you think they will, yes, they need more points. They need 7 points. They decide to punt the ball in the corner. Look for, in the lineout, center jumper Luke Gross, 6'9", professional player, to take this ball and look for the drive.
The United States has made another substitution at scrum half. Kimball Kerr is in for Kevin Dalzell.
Inside 15. Wait now.
Number 5 is Luke Gross. He's the man in the middle. He's a huge man. This is the new substitution scrum half. He came in against Scotland at the end of the game. This would be big for Canada to see how they defend against this.
Sloppy once again and miss Gross.
Pressure from Canada resulted in a crooked throw from the United States. Set scrum. This is the concentration you have to have. I think the scrummaging has been very, very good for Canada, and they'll receive some pressure if the United States is capable of doing that on this particular scrum.
No, you can't do it there behind you.
I think Morgan Williams should go to touch here. This is a free kick. So they could not go for touch anywhere on the field, but inside the 22 they can. And with the golden boot of Bob Ross, it's probably a better alternative.
Ross, though, doesn't find touch. The ball bounces way back to Mateo now. Just going forward.
On the way, 14.
Gains a lot of ground back to the United States. Here they come. Cater. Running hard, but can't break the line of defense. John Cannon with another hard tackle there. Herkus looking out wide. There's Fee dancing inside. He has pace. You have to keep an eye on him. Taken down by Van Staveren, though. Ball's loose. Canada could come up with it.
Now that's a harsh call because that ball was lost forward. This is a call for the Canadian player coming in from the side. He has been consistent, but the ball was lost forward in the tackle initially, and then we may be able to get a video on this. So here comes Fee.
What are we doing?
Ball to the scrum half. Did he lose the ball? Does that go forward? Certainly goes forward from the United States. Clearly there. That should be a set scrum Canada ball. Again, the States going for a line out inside the 22. On that kick by Bob Ross, he might have decided to kick the ball in behind the wingers, because if he kicked the ball directly to touch, it would have been an American ball. So he has the option of going in behind the wingers if he thinks he can, which is what he did do. So he might have made that decision to go long as opposed to go for the line out. But here we are. Canada's under pressure, and we'll see if they disrupt their links and they'll pull this ball, this drive down.
The U.S. with the push past the Canada 5-meter line. The Eagles pushing forward, looking for a try. Stolen. Oh! Big hit there.
That's obstruction. Set scrum Canada. It was a huge hit.
And Cater, I think,
smack up here.
Oh, it's not good. Cater ran into the back of his own player, I believe, and this does not look good.
Jason Cater on the down. He's had a good game for the United States. Power center. Obviously, he's got some a cut there, so they have to get him off the field and replace him.
It looked at one point Canada might have stolen the ball, but the U.S. got it out of that.
Yeah, the United States took the ball at the front of the line out cleanly. Mike James tried to pull it down, but he was too slow, and they formed a maul. They drove the maul, and eventually the Canada did get it down. So if we can get a replay on that, it would be definitely worthwhile. So here comes the handling. Oh,
head-to-head
contact
with Herkus.
Mike Herkus, again a key player, number 10 in the game. That was nasty. Driven in, Bob Ross coming up, trying to make a tackle on Herkus, driving him right into Kafer. So there's going to be some repair jobs here. So there's a break, and with an injury like this, normally it's 1 minute for injury, but an injury, head injury like this, the referee will take as long as necessary.
Hotels and Resorts.
So I'm sure this has been a happy second half for David Clark. He's got the lead that he wants. Remember, when the Canada and the United States are playing for the World Cup qualifiers, you want to go at America #1. The results of the two teams are significant. So the lead here of 17 points will take that into Chicago against the United States. And the United States will have to win by 17 points to turn this around. And Uruguay and Chile enter into the equation. But the significant game is to win here, the first game against the United States, and to win big. There's a hand from the Toronto fans. Good sportsmanship, and he's a good man, and I'm sure that he'll be all right once he gets patched up.
That was an ugly collision right there. Coming into the match, Keo Nicolau.
Wait for me, stay.
Into the match for the United States.
Stay.
Nicolau.
I've got to have someone to put the ball in.
He's another uncapped player, and he's from Tennessee State University. A student. He's named to all collegiate team.
Canada has also made a substitution. Ed Fairhurst is in at scrum half now for Clark's Crusaders. Bob Ross picks it up nicely, but can't find touch. Taken there by Fee. Timoteo kind of does that little jig as he goes forward. U.S. pushing forward, the new scrum half.
Stay, Red.
Herkus. McDonald rumbles through, but he's knocked that ball on.
Forward.
Mike McDonald in the right place, the right time, power to the goal line, but he forgot to hold on to the ball. Again, the pressure and the timing of the game, the experience of the players. You see Al Sharon being so careful with the ball every time he has it. That's a key factor in today's game. The experience of the Canadian players, not panicking, controlling the game.
Beautifully kicked away there by Bob Ross. Getting Canada out of a lot of trouble.
50, 55, 60-meter gain. USA line out. About 30 meters out, Canada put pressure on. Canada, thank you, Bob Ross.
We'll go downstairs now. Mark McAllister has an update on the U.S. injury to Jason Cater.
Thanks, guys. Yes, Jason Cater right now on the sidelines getting the cut looked after. It's a deep cut over his left eye, probably about 3 inches in length, but they are packaging him up now, and he seems to be fine. He's going to be walking up the field back to the dressing room any moment.
Thank you very much, Mark. Farner took the ball there for the United States. They have possession. Kerr with the service out. Oh, a big hit there by Van Staveren. That young man has come to play. He's rocked a few Eagles in this game since coming on as a substitute. Fafita runs forward, taken to ground. Kerr dances, not a lot of support, but does end up finding someone. The U.S. with a bit of possession now.
USA recycling the ball well, but again, they're not getting across the advantage line, and they have to kick to get over the advantage line.
Herkus kicks it. Aslan to Winston Stanley, kind of runs into his own man, but he has some help out wide. Cannon back inside to Aslan. Long pass out to Foth. He goes straight through the middle of the Eagles' defense. Lost the ball.
Hands away.
Kerr with the ball. 40 minutes gone here in the second half. There's Fafita running. One man to beat. Winston Stanley takes him to the ground.
Purposeful slap forward.
This is a penalty on Nick Wachowski, deliberately knocking that pass down. Why in the world he wouldn't catch it, I don't know.
Taken quickly there by the United States as they look to get one last try before things are over.
Straight into deck. On your feet, 6.
America will go quickly. They don't want
Gary
3
takes
points.
the ball. Hodges, he's wrapped up by a couple of Canadian. Winston Stanley went down hard. He's not moving. There's McDonald.
Canada players got to react quickly to this. We want the point differential. Canada does. Here we go. Winston Stanley coming in a little high, head-to-head contact.
See advantage red.
Boom, right there. And if you thought that was a knock, the United States just knocked on with a chance going for goal. Fafita can't hold on to it. The big man, who's a load to handle, was running before he caught it. Canada with the scrum down.
Again, a mistake by the United States. Good, solid scrum. Clear to touch. Bob Ross. Eddie Fairhurst, the back of the pack.
Fairhurst made his debut against the United States last year, along with John Cannon. Actually, a few Canadians have done that. And this game is in the books. Canada knocks off the United States 26-9 here in Markham. It's their first victory on the way to qualifying for the World Cup of Rugby down under, the start of a home-and-home series with the United States. And Gary, they got the result they needed.
Yes, they did. They'll take 17 points into Chicago in 2 weeks' time, and that's a big advantage, knowing that the Americans have to come back and beat them by 18 points to try to overtake them to qualify. Canada will be missing 2 of their stars, John Tate and Danny Bob, but we have young players to take their place, as we saw with Adam Van Staveren, who came in and made a name for himself. I'm sure he'll be in Chicago based on what he did today.
With the victory, Canada improves to 23-8-1 all-time against the U.S. They're 9-2 in their last 11 matchups, but this is a huge victory for the Canadian side as they push forward for that all-important top spot in this group, because as we talked off the top of the show, Gary, if you get that top spot, you get into maybe a little bit easier group at the World Cup.
Right, you play New Zealand, you know what's going to happen there, everyone knows that. But you play Wales and nobody knows what's going to happen there. So Canada will take out Wales at the World Cup. If not, you've got to go against England and South Africa, which is extremely tough. And also the second team from Oceania, which is Fiji or Samoa, which is also very tough.
Now, we talked about guys who got their first cap ever against the United States. Mike James was one of them. He scored a try today, his first cap against the U.S., 94. He's down now with our Mark McAllister.
Thank you very much. Yes, a very eventful day for Mike James, not only getting the cap, but also a try. You've got to be excited.
Pretty excited, but I mean, obviously the try was the end of a lot of work for the team. I was just in the right spot at the right time, got a pass, and was able to shoot the gap. Pretty happy with that.
Nice way for you guys to be able to start the World Cup qualifying round as well.
You know, it sort of puts us in the driver's seat. Also, we're in charge of our own destiny. And, you know, we know in 2 weeks' time we're going to play the Americans again in Chicago. It's going to be a very hard match, probably more physical than today. And we need to get it together so we can win these games.
What did you learn from today's match that maybe you can take into that next one?
Never underestimate your opponent. The Americans, you know, we were able to pull up a win against Scotland, and then Scotland beat handily the Americans. And I think a lot of guys in the back of their minds thought we'd win easily today, which wasn't the case at all.
All right, thanks for this. Congratulations.
Can I just say hi to my boys Quentin and Austin at home? Thank you very much.
All right, there you have it. Mike James contributing to Team Canada's win. 26-9 your final score from Fletcher's Fields in Markham, Ontario. We'll be back right after this.